This video contains sensitive content. Viewer discretion is advised. This is Passengers United.
Alright, good afternoon everybody. Thanks for coming. Up here with me is Deputy Commissioner Tariq Shepard, DCPI, NYPD. And with me is Chairman NTA, Jan Oliver. And we also have our Chief of Transit, Mike Kemper. So they're both going to address you about the incident that happened today on the D train. Once we get finished with that, we'll take some more topic questions and update you as best as we can. All right? Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Jan Oliver. I'm the MC here in CO. I'm joined, in addition to the NYPD, by Robert Kelly, who represents the station agents and many of the folks who work in the station as the leader of PW Local 100. Listen, anytime there's an event like this, New Yorkers are lost. The subway is a place that everybody in New York depends on. It's got to be safe. It's got to feel safe, even if you're traveling in the middle of the night like this when this incident occurred. So we have to push back against gun violence across the city, but we also have to focus on making sure that the subways are safe from any kind of weapon. That's why I am actually reassured today, because the NYPD has last year pushed up the number of gun arrests in the system by 33%. They're taking a lot of guns out of the system. The city in general, shootings are way down, but keeping guns out of the subway system, keeping weapons out of the subway system is a high priority. And this is what we are working with the NYPD and the Mayor Adams on so intensely. It's really, really important. Results are starting to be shown. 16 guns have already been taken off of people this year. 16 guns out of the subway system, just 2 yesterday. Getting weapons out of the subway system so New Yorkers can feel safe is super important. Now, nothing I can say to folks who are feeling unsafe today, except that there is progress being made on getting weapons out of the system. One reason that progress is being made is that the NYPD under Mayor Adams' leadership has pumped cops into the system. And you know what? You heard about the surge in subway crime in the month of January compared to last year. Well, you know what? The month of February is down compared to last year. And that's because Mayor Adams and the NYPD have surged cops into the subway system. If anybody has been riding this week, you have seen there are thousands more cops on the platforms, in the stations, on the mezzanine. So while today we're recognizing a really, really upsetting episode that makes riders feel unsafe, I am hopeful and I am determined that along with this mayor, we are going to make progress. I also want to emphasize, I've spoken to Governor Hochul about this incident, and one thing that is also important to note is that her initiative to put cameras in every subway car actually paid off in this case. That the whole incident was reported on a camera that was inside the subway car as a result of the Cops Cameras Care initiative that Governor Hochul started with Mayor Adams' support last year. We are putting every last car in the subway system is going to have a camera in it. And in this case, it paid off. And I hope, and I'm confident that that's going to help the investigation. So, can't minimize what happened today, but we are determined and we are hopeful that we're going to make the subway system as safe as it needs to be and feel as safe as it should be for all New Yorkers. Thank you.
So good afternoon. Everything I'm going to talk about is preliminary, subject to change. Obviously, this just occurred a few hours ago, but here we are. We find ourselves again in the Bronx. This is the second time, I want to say within 11 days, we're talking about a tragedy that occurred inside the subway station in the Bronx. So, look, this morning, in the 4 o'clock hour, just before 5 a.m. I'm going to bring you to a southbound D train. Our victim, a 45-year-old male, is sitting on that train. As the train pulls into the Fordham Road stop, 3 individuals entered the train. 2 males and 1 female. The train then leaves Fordham Road, and as it's riding towards 182-183 Street, one of those individuals in the group of 3 sits down next to our victim. Immediately when this individual sits down next to the victim, words are exchanged. They both stand up, and then the words turn physical, and they start physically fighting each other. As they're physically fighting each other, the 2 others, the female and the male, that entered the train at Fordham Road, they joined the fight, so now it's 3-on-1, physically assaulting our victim. As the train pulls into the 182-183 Street stop, those 3 individuals exit the train. They exit the train station to an unknown location. EMS was requested, and our victim was removed to St. Barnabas Hospital, where unfortunately and tragically, he was pronounced deceased at about 5:50 hours. The injury sustained to our victim is consistent with either a gunshot wound or a puncture wound from a sharp object. That will be determined, the exact wound and cause of his death, by the medical examiner. With that said, detectives are on scene presently. They've been working this case. It's very active. And look, New York City detectives are by far the greatest detectives in the world. I've been fully briefed. I'm updated on how this case is progressing. And as I stand here right now, I am very confident that identifications and arrests will be made in the near future. And I just also want to touch on what Chairman Lieber mentioned about video. How many times could we talk about the vast network of video surveillance in the subway station? How many times could we talk about example after example after example of incidents occurring, captured on video, leading to identifications, leading to arrests, leading to prosecutions, and leading to jail? That is exactly what occurred today in today's incident. These videos are not only in the subway stations, on the platforms and the mezzanine areas, but they're now in large number on trains, as was the case in today's incident. With that said, we'll take questions.
Hey Chief, does it appear that there was some kind of, did they know this victim, some kind of relationship, or just random?
So right now, it's to be determined if they knew each other, but watching the video and talking to witnesses, this looks like it was an isolated, random occurrence. It looks like our victim was by himself. A gentleman sat down next to him, and words were exchanged, and it became physical. So to be determined, but right now it looks to be isolated.
Juliet Papa, 1010?
Yes, Chief, how many train cars actually have cameras? And also, does this video provide any audio?
Well, there's about in excess of 1,000 train cars now, but we're completing that installation. It's being done all this year, so you're going to have the full fleet completed. But in this case, it's already starting to pay dividends, and it has in one other shooting case in the last 6 months.
So how many are there, obviously, the pilot program, how many are there currently in the
Like I said, over 1,000 cars have the cameras already installed, and it's starting to pay off dividends already.
And
All right, we'll go over to Tim.
Is there audio on this video at all? Can you hear what was happening?
In this video, there was no audio.
Tim, CBS?
Mr. Lieber, why do you think it is that transit crime is up 18% compared to last year, and what is being done to stop it?
Well, the number one thing is it was significantly up in January, but immediately the NYPD and Mayor Adams surged cops into the system. Anybody who's been riding the last couple of weeks knows there are a lot of more cops in the system, and already in February, overall crime is down. Now today, we're not going to tell New Yorkers, don't be concerned when there's a shooting, but overall crime, the trajectory is crime is down versus last year in the month of February, and with the NYPD's surge of personnel, we're hopeful that's going to stay there.
Let me just touch on that. And we recognize people's concerns. Trust me, we do. It concerns us also. But like the chairman mentioned, January was a very challenging month in the subway system. Matter of fact, we ended January up 45% in crime versus the year before. And that 45% was driven in large part by grand larcenies. So, to the credit of our mayor and our police commissioner, listen, we always say public safety is their top priority. After the month of January, significantly more resources, cops. Tremendous investment was made just a couple of weeks ago. Upwards of over 1,000 additional cops assigned each day to the subway system. And look, we've taken these couple of tragic events, but take them aside, crime is down. Overall crime is down in the month of February. So those investments are paying dividends. Look, our cops are out there, they're visible. Our riders, I know they see them, they're riding trains, they're on platforms. They're engaging acts of lawlessness every single day. Arrests are up year to date in the subway system dramatically. 60% arrests are up. All areas of arrests. The chairman mentioned gun arrests. We have 16 gun arrests already this year versus 6 last year at the same time. And that's coming off a year we were up. So if anyone's asking what the police department is doing, what our cops are doing, they're out there, they're very visible, they got a very, very challenging job. They're hyper-focused on providing public safety, and they're making arrests and doing enforcement and engaging these unlawful acts at historic highs.
Chief, just to clarify, when you say crime is down in February, you mean year to date last February, correct?
So January 1st to today versus last year, January 1st to today, in the month of February, overall crime is down a little over 14% in February. And that's from a 45% increase in January. And that just shows you the effect that cops can have. We went from a 45% increase to an immediate decrease just weeks later with our cops redeployed in large number in the system.
We're going to go into Bahar.
What more do we need to, have more information?
So look, I'm doing this job a very long time. I have investigative experience, and I'll pass it over to Chief O'Sullivan in a second for his words on it. I cannot speak enough about the value of video surveillance, both as a deterrent and investigative value. When an incident like this is captured on video, it immediately gives us the story of what occurred and who we're looking for. And you talking about probative value for prosecutors as these cases progress, because like I said, there will be arrests in this case. Trust me on that. And then to have that video is very, very strong and probative prosecutorial. Jerry, you want to talk about that?
Hi, just to follow up on your question, based on video, we're able to determine that 04:57 hours this morning, 3 individuals get on a train on Kingsbridge Road and Grand Concourse. They enter the second car of an 8-car train, which is traveling southbound on D train. The cameras in that car capture that entire train. It was very helpful, and I'm confident it's going to be helpful in our investigation and in addition to the prosecution.
Can you provide an update on the investigations for the last 2 subway shootings and what role cameras
Stay on topic. Miles Miller, NBC.
So, if you could just start, did any of the witnesses report hearing a gunshot? Have you been able to talk to any of the doctors at the hospital? Did they find the gunshot wound on this victim?
So talking about the wound, as I mentioned before, it's consistent. It's in his chest area. It's consistent with either a gunshot or a puncture wound. That's to be determined by the medical examiner. The medical examiner will give us the answers to what exactly caused that injury. What was the second question?
Did witnesses report hearing a gunshot?
So there were witnesses. I'm not going to get into what the witnesses told us, but we do have eyewitnesses and ear witnesses.
All right, we're going to go on the end.
One follow-up and then one other question. Were the witnesses on the same train car? Were the witnesses on the same train car?
Yeah. So
About how many, sorry?
So there were other riders on that car, and there were other riders on the cars adjoining.
And then you mentioned the cameras being a deterrent. Has there been any consideration made to maybe a larger noting that there are cameras on subway cars to maybe deter crime further?
Yeah, and that's a great point, and that's why I said it before. How many times do I have to say this? We're very transparent about that. We want our riders to know that. The good riders and the riders that want to come into the system and commit crimes. So we do advertise it. We're not shy about it. Here we are again. This is probably the third time I'm talking about the cameras. I'll say it again. The camera system in the New York City subway system is vast. It's expansive. It's incredibly valuable.
All right, we got time for two more. Georgette?
Sir, what about motive? Is it motive? Is it robbery or what are you looking at?
So, you want to put it up? It's going to be determined.
Well, I will say it's unknown the motive. What was we do know that the victim wasn't the primary aggressor in this case. I don't want to get into what escalated, but it initially started with a verbal encounter and it escalated to a physical confrontation. And then this incident occurred. So we're not 100% sure of the motive, but that'll be coming out in our investigation.
Do they know each other?
Unknown at this time.
Our final question, Ana Lero, Telemundo.
I was just going to ask, do you have any more information that you can share about the victims? Work, what do we know about this?
So to be determined, he's a 45-year-old male, Bronx resident.
Thank you. So we did, I think we put out the image of how many suspects, Judge? We put out, we should have images of all these suspects that we put out, all three. And as we stated the last time when this incident happened on the 4 train, no different than today. We're not going to tolerate this kind of violence in our subway system or anywhere in New York City. Those 3 individuals, you see your image on television, you're going to hear yourself on radio, you're going to hear yourself being spoken about all across the city. Turn yourself in because we have the greatest detectives in the world looking for you, and you just don't have a chance. So turn yourself in as soon as possible before we have to come and get you. Thank you.
Is the video going to be released also?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Release the video.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm not sure if we're going to release our video. We just want the images out. We got clear images of those suspects out. So
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So their faces are clear.
Thanks for watching. To stay up to date with Passengers United, please subscribe and follow us on social media. Learn more about us at passengersunited.org.